Good evening, friends. How are you ladies tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you back, Jen and Miss Candy, of course. We will not be seeing Miss Megan tonight because she decided to try to one up Jen after
Mhm.
her trip to the combine. So she's a little under the weather, and we're going to get these ladies all well soon, and then we can have our full staff again. But
I'm
ladies, tell
just
me about.
saying,
Huh?
do not get what I got.
Yeah, no, please, no. You keep it that way. That side of the
You can
world.
share lots of things with Jen, but do not share that with us,
No,
okay?
sharing is not caring in this one.
No.
No. And Candy, your hair looks really good tonight, just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Oh, sorry.
Tonight we've kind of got a full slate. So, Jen, you want to start us off with a little bit of insight on what was going on with Cam this week?
So he was at his on a 7-on-7 tournament, which is a like tournaments that other NFL players are involved in as well as like non-NFL players, right? As coaches, and it's a youth camp. You can pay, you can also be invited. So Cam's team actually lost. And one of the coaches on the winning team used to coach for Cam on his 7-on-7 team. And I don't know exactly what happened, but or allegedly he used to coach for him. So let me clarify with that. But then we have then he gets jumped by initially two coaches and somebody else, right? So then it goes off on the side. Everybody's seen the video, so I didn't add it as a thumbnail. But then we proceed to see three more people jump on Cam as he's over there as like security and police officers are just like nonchalantly walking up because they see Cam handling it so well. First of all, people, before you try to jump an NFL player or a former NFL player, especially a starting quarterback or a starter, please remember their bodies are already superhuman. And just because they haven't necessarily played the game in 2 years doesn't mean they don't work out religiously. Please see Cam's IG. He likes girls looking at those abs, and they are nice abs. But just saying, he handled all six so well, and he never threw a punch. And all of it was over smack talk. And one of the coaches actually went on X, formerly Twitter, to talk smack. These guys have superhuman strength. Don't mess with them. Like, and then how dare you when you've got a man, and I don't care that it's Cam in this situation, who's literally giving back to his communities, Boston, Charlotte, Atlanta. And I know at least in Charlotte and Atlanta, he still does. I don't know about Boston, but this means a multimillionaire. He probably will end up a billionaire before the end of his life, to be honest with you. Like, he knows how to make money. And he learned how to make money from several very influential people. So whatever. But I was just impressed that Cam did that. So, hats
Well,
off to you, sir, for not throwing a punch and putting those boys in
isn't
their
he,
place.
isn't he Superman? So why would you mess with Superman? That's all I
Right.
have to say about that.
I knew you had to say something, Carrie. Thank you.
Notice that he was very supportive of Cam. I mean,
I'm very proud of you.
but I'm not. I can do Cam. We're not going to travel into the other ones worldwide. So.
It's okay. Tom has a security group. Sorry, my brother was calling me.
All right. Do you have anything to add to that, Candy? Did you have any?
I mean,
anything?
let's face it. Anybody that is a pro athlete, and I mean a pro athlete, they're built. They're strong. They've worked in the weight room. They're not going to be pushed around. I mean, I don't care how small you are. They have abs. They've worked out. Let's face it, to bulk up these days, all of them have spent multiple hours in the weight room. And especially someone that of Cam who can, run, and so he's physically fit. He is.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you even try? Like, why? I just don't get it. People these days.
Because
I
disrespect.
mean,
I mean, Cam could literally still walk into any NFL team as like a running back or a tight end or a wide receiver right now. Literally, he could. Like, I'm not going to say quarterback, but I mean, his arm is still there, but whatever. He could go into other positions too. Easily. But yeah, no. Just fucking idiots. And
I get
greats.
tired of people feeling like they're entitled, and that's kind of what this feels like. Is the whole situation is here's someone that is doing something for the, helping the future generations, providing training and such, and you've got someone that feels they're more entitled than they probably are, and have the right to do something. So, but I think that's just an underlying issue that we have right now in society as a whole.
And here's the thing. They were even talking trash like has been. Well, you know what? At least Cam was a has been and not a never was, sir. Because you and I were in the same boat. We never were.
I mean, that's very
And
accurate.
honestly, Cam still handled your butt handedly. Sorry. I'm really glad I was a Panthers fan before Cam came into the picture, just so y'all don't think I'm only a Panthers fan because of Cam. Just so you know, 96, baby.
Well, I'm only a Chiefs fan because of Patrick.
Well, that's like Candy only liking the Jags because of Trevor.
Right.
And the Bucks because of Giannis.
Or Green Bay because of love. Yeah.
Well, all you need is love, right? Just kidding.
All you need is love. All you need is love. Jen, you were telling us about I did not watch the NASCAR this weekend. I don't even know what I did.
So this was cool, and I should have added this thumbnail. I apologize for not. But so they had a 3/100th of a second end of the race. And it was just amazing to see. Like, you really had to kind of look at they're going so fast so you can kind of see it easily. But I know, Candy, you were watching it too. But
I actually wasn't, but
Candy cane. No, it was pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. We were like, dang. I'm not gonna lie. I really want Kyle to win. I like Kyle. But it was really cool. So hats off to the 3 victors. Too bad it couldn't have been a tie. They were trying really hard to make that a tie. 3/100,000th of a second. Do you know how small that is?
About the size of my checking account.
Huh?
About the size of my checking account.
Hey, mine too right now. Payday's Wednesday, right?
Or my last vacation. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Mine was a little longer this year.
I go gambling. I was working the entire time I was in Vegas.
That's that's neat in the fact that they're keeping that there's that many competitors that it's not a blowout. Because I remember years past that there was always a definite win. I'm talking from when I was a little girl watching it with my grandparents. So there was always a definite winner, and then there was some that came in fairly close, but not.
This is the 3rd closest race that they've had.
They've had
2 closer.
Last weekend was Daytona 500, and that was postponed because of weather. And the winner actually started his career iRacing. So he was racing online as opposed to one that just does, regular driving. They were talking about that on the radio, that he actually did iRacing, which I thought was fascinating, that he then took that to the track and actually won Daytona 500.
Isn't that a movie line plot that was just last summer? But it was a game. Kind of like a Need for Speed to into the Indy. Was it Indianapolis 500? Oh, Gran Turismo. That was the movie. Sorry.
Oh, I thought that was a TV show.
No,
My
that's
bad.
the movie.
I'll check that out. I actually thought you were making reference with the Need to Speed to the Top Gun movies.
Did you see the little hearts in my eyes, Top Gun? Yeah. Volleyball scene. the best. So we want to kind of, was there anything else you wanted to bring up about NASCAR?
No, I just think it's really awesome in a NASCAR. Oh, I'm trying to get one of the voices of NASCAR on our show. So fingers crossed. I need to reach out to her, but between when I met her at the NASCAR Hall of Fame ceremony dinner and Super Bowl, I was completely slammed. So I need to reach out to her this week. So feel free to remind me too, please, ladies.
Absolutely. We this week we saw where when Wake Forest beat Duke, we saw the fans, the students and fans storm the court. And there's been a lot of talk about how, hey, Snowman, how there is a need for the NCAA to review this and see what needs to be happened to make it more safe for everyone involved. And really made me start thinking it's not just basketball and it's not just NCAA. But last September in Kansas, a professional photographer was hit and caused her to fall, hit her head, and it ended up being a fatal injury. So this is not limited to just professional or or the collegiate level. It is across the board. And it's something that is very near and dear to one of our, to our team, and the fact that Candy is always on the sideline. She is always down there courtside, sideline, wherever, getting those action shots. But she's also putting herself in potential range of injury. So, we see it across all sports that have those interactions between fans and the game itself. Candy, how do you feel like at times on it? Is that something that you think about, or is it something that's a thing at the back of your head, or how does that work for you?
So typically before you go into a game, as you get credentialed for being a photographer down on the field, you actually do sign a waiver that says you're accepting responsibility because you need to be aware of your, surroundings. Kind of, I would take it kind of like to the fact of like baseball and how they've added the screens further down foul balls because people aren't always paying attention in the stands and you can hit a foul ball back into the stands. So the same thing can be true when I'm taking photography. And I'll be honest with you, when you are shooting the lens, you're almost on a whole different atmosphere, like because you're so focused on the action and you don't sometimes realize how close that action is getting to you. And the thing is you're trying to get that great shot inbounds, that great shot, and you don't realize the momentum that like a player, like if you're on the football field, how much the momentum is going to carry. Now, I've been shooting lately college basketball. In college basketball, I am literally sitting underneath the basket off to the side just a little bit on the court. Now there's and on top of that, there are fans behind me on a folding chair. So if a player would come through towards me and push me back, I'm going towards a metal chair with a person sitting on it. That luckily for me has never happened. You honestly, you cannot take your eye off the ball. You have to be constantly watching and aware of everything, because if someone does come, you're going to want to quick move one way or quick move the other way, or brace yourself, or be able to brace the player too. But what happened at Wake Forest had nothing to do with the game. Nope. It was after the game. Now, my first time shooting a basketball game for collegiate level was a couple weekends ago this year. And one of the traditions that I thought was really cool was after the game, the winning team, which happened to be the home team, went around the outside and high-fived all of the fans that were still there. But as I think about that now, that just means all these fans are going to start coming down on the court and possibly storming, which is what happened in Wake Forest.
Mhm.
The problem with that is if you don't have control, depending on how big the crowd is, you can get injured. I mean, and let's face it, the Duke player got injured.
Yeah, and he had just had a career game.
So it's kind of scary because they're. Go ahead.
Do you remember that Sneed, and I think it was Jusek, that jumped, that were in the Super Bowl, that going towards the end zone, and the ball was overthrown, and Sneed and Jusek cleared the photographer sitting down, and they were launching into the stadium, the seats. So I mean, it happens, and the players are obviously going to be watching because it's they're going to want to protect themselves and other people. I mean, that's I would feel like that's part of their mentality is too, is they're watching where they're falling, so they got to make sure, you know, they're aware of their surroundings as well.
Right.
But that's what I mean. It just the logistics of it is it happens across everywhere.
And Coach
It's
Schneider
during the game and then after. So,
and Coach Schneider and the Duke medical team said that they thought that Volubsky getting injured was actually intentional from a Wake fan. That's what the medical team said. And I mean, like, I'm not I'm not a doctor. B, I'm not in medicine. C, I didn't look at anything that happened. I didn't see it. I just saw all of this happening on Twitter. I was doing another podcast when it came out. So I broke that news on Saturday on another podcast. But they, like,
how can they label it intentional? Their team just pulled off a big win. So how can they label that intentional?
Well,
I mean,
they're saying that one student intentionally hurt the Duke player. I don't know. Intention
is hard to prove. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. Intention is hard to prove because you have to know what is
Duke. But I would say that they saw something. Maybe even they saw cameras or a video that showed something. Like maybe the guy trapped him because that's what it seemed like it was. That's how he got injured.
But if it's intentional, then there should be charges that would be pressed. Because if you're intentionally, you know, hitting or trying to harm somebody, they can press charges.
Yeah. I do know that the NCAA hands down fines for that to the schools. I know this because Mizzou students charged the field twice this year, and that was $200,000 checks to the NCAA that they had to pay, that the school had to pay.
And UT.
I don't know. Mizzou had such a unique year that we have not been accustomed to something like that.
Yeah.
In football. And so that, you know, that clicks. There's some things that just click in your brain.
Oh yeah.
And absolutely. So I know there are fines given, but is that enough?
No, because the fines were given to the schools, not the student. And the schools whatever. We have a booster club. Like some of the booster club members will like honestly just hand 200 G's out without an issue.
I don't know that a fine is going to stop the situation.
But they do need to provide, because here's the thing, you're also putting security guards at risk.
You're putting security guard, you're putting your fan base, you're putting your athletes, you're talking about damage to your facility as well. They had to go fish the goalpost back up, or is it? I know. I know for a fact Oklahoma State goes and fishes goalposts often. So it's fines can be paid, like you said. You've got supporters that are. I'm like, oh well, that was what I had in my wallet today. Let me just go ahead and wipe that out real quick, and it's no big deal for them.
Can someone like please give me that?
Listen, if you would just drop a couple pennies to you, which $10,000 is a penny. I don't know. I just need a couple. Just need a couple of pennies or minuscule amounts of money, and I would be really quiet for a while. Speaking of which, I'm looking for a sugar daddy that wants to pay me at least $500 a week and just live away and just be willing to write me a check. So if anyone knows anybody that I'm in the market, for someone just to send me $500 a week. Okay, now that we've said that, plug my own beneficial here. But I just find it that I don't know that fines is what is going to stop the process.
It's not. They need to set stages. They need to set protective barrier. They need to do more.
But how do you do a protective barrier? I mean, look at some of the like international soccer games that have happened, and people have stormed and going over,
and broke the stadium down.
That I don't know.
I mean, but then you look at because for basketball, set up more up like an NBA arena. I guess. I mean, I've never been on an NBA court. Well, yes, I have, but I didn't pay attention because I was being interviewed. But
I just feel like common sense is not common, so now we've got to come up with a way to protect people because common sense is more elite than common.
And it goes back to disrespect.
Entitlement.
I agree.
Well, Candy, we appreciate your insight. I just know that every time I know you're on a sideline, you are in my prayers because I'm like, just make sure she's covered. We want her back so she can share her cool photos and insights.
Ironically, the only time I've actually been, I would say, and not injured, but I was photographing spring training. And literally, because I'm right next to the dugout, one of the balls came back into the dugout and ricocheted and hit me in the back. It didn't hurt me because it had ricocheted enough, but still, it made you really think. And the thing is when you're looking through the eyes of a camera, you're not looking peripheral. You are so focused that sometimes it's hard and you don't realize. So
right.
I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers, though, because I do love what I do. I do love being on the sideline and being there and in that. But
I would think it was exhilarating and intoxicating, but I'm not sure that at the age I am and the surgeries I've already been through, that putting myself in that situation is the right thing to do.
I mean, I will
back
say
to you on that one. Let me think on that. I'm not sure that's something I would do now, but 20 years ago, heck yeah.
So
I will say though that at one of the Marlins games, it was a weekend series, and I was not at that particular game. One of the guys that was in the camera well, the ball came foul shot, and it was so quick, it hit and broke his camera lens because it came into the camera well and it literally shattered his lens because it hit it just right. So you do have to be careful, but
holy cow. Candy, you said there was some NHL information that you wanted to share with our friends. What was that you were wanting to bring to their attention?
I did. This past weekend, the Red Wings took on the Chicago Blackhawks. And Chicago retired a number 7, Chris Chelios. He played ironically for both teams. So during his retirement ceremony, which was pregame, he went out and he got to acknowledge both fan bases, which I thought was really cool because both fan bases were there at the game. He also had some big name people that were there. Cindy Crawford was there. Michael Jordan couldn't make it, but he had Wayne Gretzky was there. He had some big name players. And I'll tell you what, that game was honestly great. One of the other players that he played with, Patrick Kane, was also used to play for the Blackhawks. Now this year signed with Detroit, and he actually won the game in overtime. So it came down to the wire. So it was like a really good game. And I just think this time of year, the hockey is really good because they're trying to get into the playoffs.
Right.
Just like college basketball. They're trying to get into March Madness.
Good fights. I want the fights at a hockey game, darn it.
Oh, there's some of those. You still get those once in a while.
Okay.
But back to Chris Chelios. Now he's won numerous Stanley Cups, but I just thought it was very interesting because he talked about how hockey players play in the same place a lot of basketball players play in. So he was talking about how his relationship developed with Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen in them. And I just thought that was very interesting because you sometimes think of these athletes and they're only friends with the people in their sport and they only do things with the people in their sport. And he was giving kudos to the Bulls organization and talking about them and his relationship with those guys. And I just think that's kind of really cool that we don't always hear those kind of stories.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's neat when we find out that we all know that NFL is my jam. And when you see you see those players give nod to or show up at other games, I think it's neat. I think it's really cool. We saw this last year where Philadelphia football team were showing up in support at the World Series. So, I mean, all of that is really neat to see when you see that cross love, whatever, cross support there. So yeah, I agree with you. That's really cool that when you see that and it's legitimate, it's not
right
for show.
And Patrick Kane, like I said, he played with the Blackhawks for a number of years. They did a video tribute. He's now wearing the opposing team's jersey. They did a video tribute during their game at the first break, and everybody in the stands stood up and cheered. Everybody, even the people that are Blackhawks fans, that he's not even a Blackhawk anymore. And I just thought it was a really touching moment between the retirement of the jersey of Chelios and then Patrick Kane and his former team honoring him and everybody. It's just, we need more of those togetherness and everybody celebrating somebody moments as opposed to, oh, it's my team. I can't, he's not on my team. No, I can't root for you. Like, no, this is togetherness. And I think that's what the world needs more of. So I was really happy and touched.
I agree with you. I mean, we all just need a little more friendship and acceptance of people. Speaking of, okay, this will be the last thing I say. And this is a side note, I'm shocking you too. I'm just saying, I had my issues with Julius Peppers coming back to the Panthers. But I am so incredibly happy he did. And when you were speaking, Candy, that kind of like made me think of Pep. Because how I knew he was coming back to the Panthers is he went to a Charlotte Hornets game after was Green Bay his last team before he came back? Or did he? Yeah, so after a Green Bay game, he stayed in Charlotte for a couple of days. He got permission to stay in Charlotte because his family's in North Carolina. And he showed up to a Hornets game that I was at. And a couple of the Panthers players were with him too. And they were sitting courtside. Of course, TD was there because TD always has courtside seats, right? And Alton and I were there, and we watched the entire arena boo this man. And I may or may not have been a part of it at first. But then we, I looked it out and I go, he's coming back to the Panthers. And he did. And now he's the Carolina Panthers' first draft who's ever gotten into Hall of Fame on first ballot.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Candy, I think as your fandom for a sport begins to be more than just a logo that you're cheering for, and you learn more about players. I've evolved from being a fan of a logo and cheering for that logo and not cheering for anybody that has a different logo, to now I have favorite players or, I like Max Crosby on the Raiders. I mean, I think he is a very intense.
I'll tell him, Phil.
He knows. I like when you can find something to cheer about in just virtually any game or follow. And that's where I've evolved. I personally, I've seen, I can map my evolution in my love for the NFL and the game itself. And I think as fans start to move that. You're going to move from being boo that person because they left our team to, wow, I am really glad they are having success.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy their success. I think that's kind of when you can evolve to that type of a fandom and acknowledge that there are quality players across the board and that you are competing against, and still celebrate the talent, whatever they're playing, whatever they do. I think that's an evolved fan, and it's neat to be around those people.
Hey, Paul.
Hello, Paul. Yep. I agree. I think supporting, different sports, recognizing talent,
Mm-hmm.
whatever team it might be on, whatever sport, even if it's a sport you don't cover, or watch very often, but recognizing the talent that it takes for them to be on top or to do what they do.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's not just the talent, it's the drive, it's the determination, it's the competitive edge. Like, people will like knock me for being a competitor. Too freaking bad. I am who I am. All four of us are competitors. And you know what? We figure out how to make it work because we all accept that we're all competitors.
Yeah,
But
and we're also
we do
we're not
need to
competing against each other.
another show. Say what you were going to say, Kari, and then we'll end the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you realize that you're the only person you should really be competing against is yourself, and being better than you were the day before, then you can accept what others are competing, but they're not trying to compete with you. They are also trying to be better than they were yesterday. And
Exactly.
when you can recognize that as a human, and that we're not all trying to be Martha Stewart or insert any name here, all these successful or all these beautiful or all these people out there, and you're like, I'm not in competition with them. I can celebrate their success, and I can celebrate my own success and keep striving to be the best person I can be. I'm happier that way. Am I that way all the time? No, because I'm human. But the more I can stay in the fact I'm not competing against anyone but myself, the better I feel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, on Candy, I know you're up to the next show. What's the name of the next show?
We are doing tonight is Inside the Pigskin. So if you're interested in anything football, come on over to the South Florida Tribune.
Mel is on there. I like Mel. We need him back on the show.
He
I
actually isn't
wonder
there
if they're going
tonight.
to talk about the 4 running backs that are out there that will be experiencing free agency this season.
I'm sure they'll be talking about the draft and all kinds of good things. So
yeah, and what?
And no, leave my boy Sneed in KC. End of story. All right.
No, bring him to me. Come on, bring him to me.
No, I'm not sharing. Sorry.
Just because I got your money, man, you got to share now. Okay, please and thank you. But you guys, I think next week we're gonna in the next few weeks we're gonna have a very special guest on, someone who I've interviewed a couple of times at Super Bowl events, and I'm so excited. I freaking love her. Like, we saw each other at a Super Bowl event this week or 3 weeks ago. Sorry, the sickness has been going on a while, but we saw each other and we screamed like sorority sisters, and I was so happy because I don't do that with just anybody. And like, she was happy to see me. Like, I love her, so I can't wait for her to come on. And then next week, I think we're gonna recap some events like Megan being at the Combine and my Super Bowl events, and then Kari at the Super Bowl parade. We want to recap, and Candy is always at certain events, so we're gonna recap whatever she's doing and talk a little baseball.
We're hoping to do FAU basketball this Saturday. So
yeah,
Fantastic.
all right, we'll be recapping that and some of your other events because I know Scott will drag you somewhere. We
are at that point that we got to let Miss Candy go, otherwise Scott may not like us anymore.
No, go purchase Scott's book. Whatever.
Go purchase Scott's book. Like, share our videos. Reach out to us if you have anything you'd like for us to cover or have any questions. And as always, we love you all. Thanks for following and being a part of our audience.
Love
Bye,
you
guys.
All. Bye.